Hello children, it's Miss SeegGr. We're going to read the chapter called The Ants. And if you remember last time, Grace went on a picnic and she was very interested in the ants. So we're going to read the chapter The Ants. This would be the third chapter in the book. And we're going to look at some of the questions first. What is an ant farm? Who is the queen? How do the rest of the ants take care of the queen? Why could the queen's life be a hard life? So they're going to tell us about ants. Okay. So let's read this first paragraph together. Ants. The next week, Grace came running home after class. "Mom," she said as she raced into the kitchen, "we got an ant farm for our classroom. It's made of plastic so you can see into it. You can look inside and see what the ants are up to." What they're up to is what they're doing. You can see them when they take bits of food back to their nest. So, even though it doesn't look like a bird nest, we call the ant, the hill where the ants live and they have all the tunnels, we call it a nest in English, ant nest. It is so cool because you get a glimpse into the lives of ants. So if you didn't read that with me, try to read it with me now. Ants. The next week, Grace came running home after class. "Mom," she said as she raced into the kitchen, "we got an ant farm for our classroom. It's made of plastic so you can see into it. You can look inside and see what the ants are up to. You can see them when they take bits of food back to their nest." It is so cool because you can get a glimpse into the lives of ants. So this paragraph does tell us what an ant farm is. So we need to learn to answer that. What is an ant farm? So you start the answer by turning the question around. An ant farm is. An ant farm is, and you could say many things about it. I decided to say it was made of plastic so you can see into it. It really should be clear plastic, but that's okay. And then instead of just copying that, I decided to say an ant farm is made of plastic. You can see the ants inside and how they live. So I'll put it into my own words a little. Okay? The next one is, who is the queen? Oh, and it was on page 14. This would be a good place to pause your video and practice writing the question and the answer. If you pause it, you can see the whole thing. But I'm not going to pause it now. We have to keep reading. Okay. Her mom smiled and nodded. She was glad to see Grace filled with excitement. Grace went on. That means she kept speaking. "Miss Frances says that ants are insects." So Miss Frances must be the teacher. "All insects have 6 legs. Bees and termites are insects too, but they are not as cool as ants. In fact, some ants can lift objects that are 100 times bigger than them." Okay, so ants can pick things up that are bigger than they are, way bigger than they are. Okay, so let's see if that tells us who the queen is. No, that didn't tell us. That told us good information about ants, but not who the queen is. So let's scroll down. So that must be Miss Frances, the teacher. This is Grace, and that's a big ant farm in their classroom. So it's made of plastic, and you can see through, and you can see the ants making tunnels, and that would be the queen down at the bottom. Okay? Grace, teacher Miss Frances, ant farm, queen, and tunnels. You can see what they're up to. You can get a glimpse of what the ants are doing. Now let's read and see if we can find out about that queen. Cool. What else did Miss Frances tell you? Asked her mom. Ants have a queen, but not a king, Grace said. The queen is the top ant. She is the boss. The rest of the ants feed her and take good care of her. So this tells you about the queen. I like the sound of that, said her mom. But it's a hard life for her, said Grace. She has to make lots of eggs, so she has to be deep in the center of the anthill all the time. So you can say this in your own words. You could say, well, who is the queen? You could say the queen is the top ant. You could say the queen is the boss of the ants. You could say the queen is the one who makes the eggs. The rest of the ants feed her. So let's see how I started writing this. Who is the queen? I need these two words. I need three. The queen is the top ant. Okay. And I'm going to put a period here. But I can say a little bit more than that. The queen is the top ant. She and I'm going to go over here. Makes the eggs. She makes all the ant eggs. Makes the eggs. Sorry, it's hard to write and hold the camera. So, we have to learn how to go back and get the information in the story and not just remember anything. It's a wonderful thing to have a great memory, but you have to be able to go back into the text, which means the words, and find where the answer is. Okay, so that was page 16. We still have 2 more questions to answer. How do the rest of the ants take care of the queen? Okay. I think that's here. The rest of the ants feed her. That they have to bring her food. But we're going to finish reading on just to make sure. It has to be the feeding. So Grace stopped to inhale. Then she asked Mom, can I run out in the yard and look for ants? Yes, you can, said her mom. And out Grace ran. Let's see what's... There's Grace in her yard, turning over a rock and looking for ants. How many people... Oh, and there's the next chapter. So that is the answer. The feeding. They bring whatever they find, whatever food they find, they have to bring some of it to the queen. Or they have to bring it to the queen. She is the boss. The rest of the ants feed her and take good care of her. So you don't have to say take good care of again, because they already have the take care part. So the rest of the ants take care of her. This is an opportunity to use a pronoun like we've been speaking about. By bringing the food, by feeding her. The rest of the ants take care of her by bringing her food. Let's see if I can get that down before the video's got to turn off. The ants, I'll make it a little bit shorter. Oops. Take care of her by feeding her. What page was that? 16. Why would the queen's life be a hard life? She never gets to leave. She has to be deep in the center of the anthill all the time. That's what would make it hard for me. She doesn't get to come and go like the other ants. She has to stay in one place. You could also say it's because she has to make the eggs, but I think the hardest thing would never leaving the anthill. So, we have to remember this. She has to be deep in the center of the anthill all the time. If you wanted to put it in your own words, you could say she cannot leave. Why could the queen's life be a hard life? It, meaning her life, is a hard life because she, I'm going to speed it up a little bit and say stays in, oops, that's not enough space, in the ant hill or nest all the time. Think about it, she never gets to leave. And this is also on page 16. Okay. So that's the next chapter, ants. See you on the next video. Miss you.